What is inflation? The gradual, widespread increase in prices across the economy is known as inflation. The cost of products and services has increased during the past year at a specific rate, which is typically stated as a percentage. In fact, a small amount of inflation is encouraged. But if the rate of inflation rises too high, it becomes a concern. The Consumer Price Index, CPI, a compilation of frequently purchased goods, is a popular way to gauge inflation in the United States. Food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and healthcare are all included in one basket. The economy can be negatively impacted by excessive inflation. Due to the increasing rate of inflation, everything from grocery store pricing to petrol for your automobile is getting significantly more expensive. Consumers have less money to spend on goods and services when prices rise. People make changes to their spending patterns, which collectively can slow down economic growth overall and possibly increase unemployment. There may be less demand and increased prices for businesses. What causes inflation? What then triggers inflation? Numerous aspects exist, including price-driven inflation. This occurs when the costs of the essential components of goods and services, such as labor and raw materials, increase. Companies pass on the expenses to customers in the form of higher pricing when they have to pay significantly more for inputs. Inflation driven by demand. Inflation can increase when there is an excess of money and demand is outstripping supply of products. Prices will increase when there is a greater demand than supply for a good. Anticipated inflation. Anticipating future price gains can lead people and businesses to expect higher inflation. Workers may want greater pay as a result in order to balance the rising cost of living. But this feedback loop may have the unintended consequence of making inflation fears worse. What is a recession? Economic downturns, such as recessions, are often characterized by decreased growth in the gross domestic product, GDP, for 2 consecutive quarters. Recessions are typically defined as periods of sustained economic contraction lasting 6 months or longer. The official definition of a recession, however, is a little more complex. According to its definition of a recession, one that lasts more than a few months and is evidenced by a substantial reduction in economic activity across the economy. According to data on GDP, income, employment, industrial production, and sales. Unemployment rates rise, salaries may stagnate, and people typically have less money to spend during a recession. Less demand for goods and services results from such conditions, which can further harm the economy. What causes a recession? The following changes have been associated with recessions. 1. A reduction in consumer spending. People buy fewer goods and services when they have less money to spend. Businesses may reduce production as a result of this declining demand, which results in layoffs and more unemployment. 2. Rising business expenses. Increased costs, such as the price of materials or labor, may drive businesses to increase pricing. Inflation and a decline in consumer expenditure may result from this. 3. Less financing. When banks are hesitant to make loans, it might affect businesses' capacity to grow or make new investments. This decreased lending may result in slower economic growth. 4. Less financing. By eroding people's and companies' wealth, a decline in stock values can help create a recessionary atmosphere. Less spending and investment may result from this, further slowing the economy.